So we have performed one sample t-test. Now we are going to perform independent sample t-test. Independent sample t-test means here you could see the gender variable. So within gender there are two categorical data, right? One is female and male, right? And here we have one continuous data. We are going to compare whether this male mean height is different than the female mean height, right? So within the same population, within the same sample, same population, you will have two types of data. You're going to compare between those two type of data, right? So let's perform the test. Analyze. Compare means you will see independent sample t-test here, right? Let's come back. Independent scenes samples t-test, right? So here in the test variable we need to say what is the test variable. It is height, right? I just dragged here. And now grouping variable, and I said that the grouping variable is the gender, right? So we group female into one group, male into one group, therefore grouping variable is gender, right? So I'm going to drag this here, or you can select and press this button and it will come here. And you could see the very next moment it's showing some question mark, right? So and the very next moment this button or the icon become alive, right? So what you have to do is you need to define the group 1 and group 2. Group 1 and group 2. So here group 1 is female, group 2 is male, right? So let's say group 1 female or group 1 male, right? Likewise you need to give the values here, right? And let's say what is a value we have given in the value labels. 2 stands for female, right? 1 stands for male. So you need to remember that sometimes you may have 3 values here, male, female and other category. So at that time you can't compare 3 of that at the same time. Only you can compare 2 groups, right? Male or female, male or other, female or other, likewise, right? So if you want to compare all 3 or more than 2 groups, then you have to perform ANOVA, right? So let's do this. Compare means independent sample t-test, and you bring up the data, the test variable here and the grouping variable here, right? Test variable here, grouping variable here. So you are going to test the height, therefore you bring height here, and the group is gender, because male group and female group, so you bring that here, right? And define that group 1 and group 2, right? So group 1 stands for male, group 2 stands for female, right? So there is no cut point, right? If this particular variable does not have these groups, let's say this variable does not contains any grouping, it also contains continuous variable. At that time you can use a cutoff point, and between that cutoff point this data itself, this SPS will categorize that from that cutoff value into 2 groups, right? So it will use that cutoff point and it will divide the data set into 2 sets, right? So here we already have the grouping data, so we'll say 1 and 2 here. Continue and okay. So here in the n number of samples, there are 10 males and 20 females, and the male mean 165 and female mean 172, and there is standard deviation of this. Here we have standard deviation and standard error, which is the descriptive statistical data of this variable. And here we have the independent sample t-test table, right? So here you could see the lower boundary, the upper boundary, and the mean difference and the standard difference. And here you have the very important data, the t-value. Degree of freedom is 28, right? And here you have here degree of freedom is calculated somewhat different from the previous things that I have told you. So don't worry about that. Here significant is 0.314, here 0.316. So that means there is no mean difference between these two categories. So even though there is a nearly a 7, I think 7, yeah, 6.4 mean difference, 6.4 mean difference, that is not sufficient to tell that the male is the females are height, females height is greater than males, right? So it is not sufficient. So only we can say it is we are failed to reject null hypothesis, right? Fail to reject null hypothesis.